I'm going to rank every Bridgerton Boy's relationship blind spot. As an avid Bridgerton rewatcher, I've noticed that each Bridgerton boy has a specific strategy that they think is helping them avoid heartbreak, but it's actually causing them more of it. So let's get started. There's something very interesting about the Bridgerton boys. They're fighting intimacy, not love, intimacy. Okay, let's start with Anthony, the control freak. Anthony Bridgerton micromanages his connections. And not just his romantic connections, he does it with everyone in his life. We saw the earliest inklings of it with Daphne during her season. Left up to Anthony, none of the suitors were good enough for her. And then by the time he noticed it, that he fully sabotaged her prospects and then turns around and tries to fix it by pushing Nigel Burbrook, of all people, onto her. Like, yuck. That season left a lot of us with a bad taste in our mouth when it came to Anthony, wondering how he was ever going to redeem himself in season 2. But then we learn a little bit of backstory. He had to take on an entire household and help his mother through grief and a birth. Anthony needed to keep control. But the irony is that needing to have that control is exactly what was keeping him trapped. And I know, because we were looking at him like, why doesn't he just let it go? Chill out. Like, relax, Anthony. Like, she's got it. Something very specific happened that showed us why he can't just let it go. That belief was specifically reinforced when it came to Sienna, the opera singer. That was one of the few times he finally allowed himself to lose control. He decided he would choose her, bring her to the balls, risk his own social standing. And he was devastated. I just remember him standing there with his little flowers. He was not right that whole season, but I did feel bad. Season 2, when he finally decides to take a wife, he tries to choose someone perfect on paper. But that's the blind spot. That's the trick. That's his strategy. If love is controlled, then it can't destroy him. But it's actually locking him out from what he actually wants and won't let himself want, right? Because each Bridgerton boy wants love, but they have terrible ways of going about it. But this is why Anthony loving Kate is so tempting and so forbidden, because she's the sister of his betrothed. But also, with Kate, he's completely exposed. And why? Because he's not in charge when it comes to Kate. She is so convicted in who she is and what she stands for that he even realizes that it's everything he needs and everything he fears at the same time.
The bane of my existence and the object of all my desires.
That control-centered way of seeing love is not easy. It's super hard to spot and undo. And I think with this blind spot, he has to learn that devastation comes with devotion. You don't get one without risking the other. It's the cost of all great loves. And that makes this one rank pretty high. Okay, let's talk about Benedict, the escape artist. For a while, Benedict Bridgerton was the biggest mystery to me. He was a certified rake. He followed pleasure for pleasure's sake. But with season 4's latest drop, we finally got some emotional foundation for Benedict that I wondered if we would ever get. So, as the spare, he's lived his life in this bubble of potential that never becomes actualized because Anthony is there taking care of everything, being the executor of the Bridgerton household, which means that Benedict lives his life on standby, which I feel like for him would create this sort of strange psychology, you know? So he lives in this bubble that tells him you're important, but you're not essential. You're next in line, but only if something goes wrong. He lives in this perpetual liminal space. And because of that, I don't think he ever develops a clear identity. Like Anthony is the Viscount. He doesn't get the opportunity to build that identity of his through responsibility as Anthony does. So he seems to build it through random experiences, art, sex, fluidity, sex, like lots of sex. But with the news that Kate and Anthony finally had Edmund, the new Bridgerton heir, Benedict finally gets released from any expectation he may have faced before. And it's easy for him to romanticize. And he did for 3 seasons. That kind of feeling where, like, if I don't define anything, nothing can end. Situationship central. So this past season kind of exposed that his escapism isn't just about pleasure, it's more about a lack of identity. Who is Benedict when he's not floating around and experimenting? He's never really settled into one person. I don't know if he actually finished art school. And he has a strong resistance to when people ask him to stay and stick around. Problem comes when Benedict is asked to commit. And this creates a blind spot for Benedict, right? Because he knows he loves Sophie. He's willing to give up a life of nobility. He's willing to risk being financially cut off by his brother. At the same time, he hesitates. He has to wrestle with if he's going to allow love to ground him. I'd say if I had to describe Benedict's blind spot, it would be that he's chasing what he's chasing, he doesn't realize is right in front of him. So if Anthony is afraid of being undone by love, then Benedict would probably be afraid of being defined by it. That sucks. I'll go into my rankings at the end. Gosh, I don't know. I think right now I'd say Anthony's is harder. Colin, the romanticizer. Colin's a doozy, right? Because he doesn't run away from love. He jumps head first. He romanticizes love. Like, we can see how he fell for Marina so quickly. But if you look very closely, we notice that he doesn't fall in love with her. He falls in love with the story. He loves the urgency of it, the fact that he can rescue her. He's a romance novel loving kid from the sounds of it, which made him the perfect prospect for Marina because it didn't take him time at all to fall in love. He didn't really know her, but he put her up on this pedestal, even with warnings from his mother and Penn and literally everyone else. But nope, he doubled down. And after that came crashing down, he ends up disoriented because his fantasy is shattered. But the thing is, just like Anthony, this belief is reinforced. I feel like he did not learn from it immediately. He goes to visit her after he's back from his travels, and he still wants answers, you know? I just feel like he still cannot see her clearly. What he can't see is that it's the projection of who he thought she was that he loved, and not actually herself. And so that makes Colin's blind spot is that he like over romanticizes people in the relationship, the situation, so that he doesn't have to live in the present. He doesn't have to see the whole of somebody, just the good things. And that holds him back from intimacy because you can love all the good parts of somebody, but you love intimately when you love all of them. So for Colin, it's much safer to love a fantasy version of somebody. With Penelope, the projection is a little bit more subtle. He sees her as sweet and loyal. In his mind, she needs him. She needs his help. In both situations, he is the knight in shining armor. But then the truth comes out. Penelope is Lady Whistledown, and Colin is immediately disillusioned. And then he's hit again with the idea that the woman that he put on a pedestal and romanticized is not the woman that's standing in front of him. He has to accept the fact that Penn's imperfect, basically. And him with this blind spot, this romanticizing tendency that he does, only lasts for so long. Eventually, that fantasy that he created in his head was always going to come crashing down. And that's where real intimacy steps in. When love becomes less about romance and letters and speeches declaring their love, it becomes about seeing somebody for who they really are. So if Anthony doesn't want to come undone and Benedict doesn't want to be defined, I would say Colin learns that you can't love without seeing clearly. And that one's tough. We can't do this one without Simon, the Duke of Hastings, but also the avoidant. He grew up harboring a lot of resentment for his father. Disgusted with that man, he vowed that he would never sire an heir and carry on the Hastings name. And the Duke is also a rake. But the more we get to know him, the more we realize that it's just a deflection. Because if he doesn't fall in love, then he doesn't have to face emotional responsibility. Responsibility for his partner's emotions or his own. But his blind spot is that he's not just avoiding emotional intimacy when it comes to his relationships and his partner, he's avoiding the emotional weight of the legacy of his father. Because to be in healthy relationship with this woman, he would have to face it, unpack it, and overcome it. And he's just not gonna do that. He's not about to do it. He said over and over again he wasn't. He almost died in a duel before he was gonna do that. Like, it's, and Daphne is the first person to actually challenge that armor, because before they even fall in love, Simon's required to play the role of intimate partner. You know, he's required to show up and give attention and honesty and consistency. The love is a byproduct of him faking it, and that's why it catches him off guard. And then boom, he loves her. And now all of a sudden he's got to face everything he's been burying. And so his blind spot is he thinks being emotionally unavailable is going to keep him from heartbreak. And so now he'd rather live in a prison of his own making than allow himself to experience joy and happiness because of resentment. Sorry, it's not funny. If Anthony is afraid of love and intimacy making him come undone, and Benedict is afraid of love and intimacy being the thing that defines him, Colin has to learn that you can't have love and intimacy without seeing somebody very clearly. Then Simon, I would say Simon is afraid of what love makes him have to face, the hard stuff, right? So let's rank them. Let's rank these blind spots because each one is very difficult in its own right. But this is just my opinion of which of these are hardest to deal with, overcome, face. Let's go number 4. In the number 4 spot, I would put Benedict. Benedict's blind spot of not wanting to let love define him. It's like I understand, but also like he was so much older. Like he had so much free time to like find something and build an identity around that. You know? Like you just had like you had time. I don't know. He's at 4. I would say that number 3 is Anthony. Because truthfully, it's hard to have that much responsibility after chaos. Like, of course, that man was afraid of losing control. He had so much on his back and he was so young. Like, of course he did. And then that means number 1, I would put Colin. Colin is number 1 for me because this blind spot, look, this can happen again and again. Over romanticizing love, intimacy, partnerships, anything really is a blind spot that you can get trapped in a lot. And when you find out that's what's been going on, it's disorienting. You lose trust in yourself, you lose trust in what you think like love is. That's a tough one. It's a doozy. Collins is definitely number 1. And that puts Simon in the number 2 spot. Simon's number 2 because like I'm a stubborn person. I can hold a grudge. But letting go of that resentment, I feel like it's hard because you don't realize that you're also starving yourself of happiness by holding on to it. And that's a hard reality to face too. Like not only do you have to have to face like the trauma that you're holding, but you also have to face the fact that you've been holding yourself back by holding on to this resentment. That's a tough one. So those are my rankings, my little Bridgerton rant. I'm excited to see where Gregory lands in all of this, but his season isn't for like what, 6 more years or something crazy. So this video is all about blind spots on Patreon. I'm talking about the moments when they started to crack, when the transformation actually starts to happen, when the women actually change their lives. So yeah, you can catch me there, or you can watch this. See you next time. Bye.